Hello, welcome back to eBritish IELTS. Today we'll be talking about the listening module. Now the listening module is pretty simple, it's very basic, it's quite fun to attempt and it's pretty scoring as well. So a lot of people like doing listening. Now listening as a module remains the same for people who are attempting the GT paper or the academic paper. So today I'll be talking about what the structure of the entire module is like and a few things to keep in mind so that you can score the maximum possible in listening. So now if you look at your screens, the first thing you'll come across is the duration here. Now the duration is 40 minutes approximately. The entire audio track that is being played for you, out of which the questions are based, that is going to be 25 to 30 minutes long, not more than that. And once the track is done, it's stopped, the entire recording is played out for you, they give you 10 extra minutes in the end to transfer your answers from the question paper to the answer key, right? So that's why the entire duration of 40 minutes approximately. After that, you'll see that the number of sections mentioned is 4. So the entire test is divided into 4 sections and the number of questions are split accordingly. The total number of questions are 40, but it is not compulsory that every section will have 10 questions based on the maths here. But it can be that one question has 11 questions, the other section has 9 questions. So overall it's going to be 40, but there's no hard and fast rule of each section having 10 questions. Now the total marks here are obviously going to be 40 as well. Since 40 questions are there, you are going to be marked out of 40. So based on the marks you score out of 40, there are different ranges which will help you score your band levels. Now we'll display it on a separate video altogether. We'll talk about it in a different video altogether where we tell you the basic division of bands according to the marks scored. But as of now, just keep in mind that there are total of 40 questions helping you secure a total possible of 40 marks, right? Now there are 3 basic types of questions you will come across, and listening as a module is not very experimental at all. The 3 types of questions you will come across is first, fill in the blanks, basically gap fillings where there's going to be a blank or there might be a diagram or something and you have to fill in blanks. Basically wherever you are required to fill in a few words to complete the answer, that comes under the category of blank filling. The second is multiple choice questions. In multiple choice questions, there'll be a question, there will be 3-4 options. Based on whatever they are saying, you'll have to pick out the most appropriate option. So that's what multiple choice question is like. And the last type of question you will come across is labeling of maps and diagrams. In labeling of maps and diagrams, you will either be given a map or there will be a diagram of some sort and the audio will be related to it. So you have to figure out, if it's a map, you'll have to figure out which area they are talking about, what is the position of the place and all of that. And if we talk about diagrams, it's going to be a structure of some sort. Let's say a machine and how the machine runs, what are the different parts, and you'll be labeling the entire place out based on what the audio is saying. Clear? So it's pretty simple. These are the 3 types of questions and that is what you will come across. Now if you look at the breakdown of the sections I've created here, the first section is generally a conversation between 2 people and it's pretty informal, if I may say so. Like 2 people will be talking about, let's say, going to a class or deciding upon which class to have. It might be a conversation between 2 friends or it might be a telephonic conversation, but 2 people will be talking here. And the kinds of questions they give you here are generally gap filling and multiple choice questions. The second section that you will come across generally is a monologue. So here one person is talking. It might either be some sort of a person, delivering some sort of a news, or it might be some sort of a speech, or it might be somebody talking about an advertisement, explaining it to people. So it's a monologue. Only one person speaks. And the general types of questions you will come across here are maps, flowcharts, gap filling and MCQs. Again, flowchart is something which is a breakdown of what the audio says and there will be missing bits of information. So it's basically gap filling, but we are breaking it as a separate question for you to understand. So these are the 4 types of questions you might come across in the second section. The third section is generally a conversation between 2 to 3 people and can or cannot be an academically inclined conversation. So 2-3 people will be talking about, let's say, deciding upon a particular college or talking about the different subjects available. So might be a conversation of that sort, and 2 to 3 people will be involved. And the general type of questions you can come across here will be multiple choice questions. The next thing that you will come across in section 4 is again going to be a monologue. And the monologue here is generally on an academic topic, like a teacher will be explaining something to the students, or a university head might be addressing the staff or something of that sort. It's generally like a lecture that you come across. And the questions here that you will encounter are mostly of a gap filling nature, right? So this is what the sections can be basically broken down into. Now, if I talk about certain things to keep in mind, first of all, when they give you the question paper, you must absolutely read what the question asks you to do. The general instructions printed will help you understand how to deal with the question. So this is something you need to keep in mind, and I believe it should go without saying. Apart from that, before every section begins, before the audio starts playing, they give you some time. The time that they give you is to read through the series of questions mentioned. Utilize that time. The more you read the questions, the better manner in which you underline the keywords of the question, it will become easier for you to understand what information is relevant in the audio track and what is irrelevant. So reading the questions beforehand is something that you should do. Apart from that, underline the keywords. When you underline the keywords, it will help you identify the location of where your answer is going to be like. Obviously, they might not use the same words printed on the question paper, but they might use synonyms of the same word. They might talk about one word repetitively, which will be associated with the answer, right? So underlining keywords will help you figure out where your answer is spoken out and what could be the possible word that you have to select as an answer. Okay? The third thing that you should keep in mind is, again, it's related to reading the questions. Once the entire passage ends, once the entire audio track ends, you are again given some time to revise whatever you've written as an answer. We generally don't need time for revision because we've already decided what has to be an answer. Even if they offer you 10 to 20 seconds, it's too much. You don't need 10 to 20 seconds to revise your answers because you've attempted hardly 5 or 6 things. So instead of revising your answers, I suggest going on and reading the next part of the question. The faster you read it, the more time you get. It's easier for you to identify keywords and help you understand what kind of words could be a possible answer for you, right? So keep this thing in mind. Instead of revising, utilize that time to read through the next series of questions. Okay? The next thing you should keep in mind is once you've figured out the question type, what the question asks, once you've read the instructions out, try to figure out what the answer is supposed to be like. For example, something based on the grammatical build-up of the sentence, of the question, you could understand that the word they are looking for there could be a verb, or it could be a noun, or maybe they might be looking for a particular date, they might be looking for a particular time. So keeping these things in mind, focus on the audio track to extract your answer. Once you figure out what kind of an answer you're looking for the word, hearing it appropriately becomes easier. The next thing you'll keep in mind is reading the instructions carefully for the question type. This is something I will harp on and on and on about because this is a very simple thing and a very basic thing to do, but children, students, they often don't do that, and that is where their bands are lost. So always read the instructions carefully. That will help you eradicate the level of mistakes people generally make if they do not read the instructions to the questions. After this, be careful about the word limit. Again, the word limit is mentioned in your instruction set. So if you do not read the word limit, you will not be able to figure out whether your answer has to be mentioned in one word or can you use 2 words instead of that. In places where they do not mention a word limit, feel free to use as many words given the point that it's been spoken in the audio and it is an appropriate answer in your sentence there. But if the instruction says that your answer should not exceed one word, you cannot exceed one word. If it says your answer cannot exceed 2 words, feel free to use one word, feel free to use 2 words. But the moment it becomes 2 words along with a number or along with another word, you've lost out your answer, you've lost out your mark. And even though the answer might be completely correct, it might sound appropriate, but because you flouted the general instruction provided, you are going to lose a mark there. So be very careful about this. Apart from this, when the entire audio track is over and you're transferring your answers, write everything in block letters, all caps. There's a reason why I'm asking you to do this. At times when we are in a rush, we are focusing on listening also, we are focusing on writing also, we are focusing on the grammatical aspect also, we tend to disregard the errors of punctuation. We tend to write everything in a running handwriting, and instead of keeping the first alphabet capital if demanded, instead of making the first alphabet small or something in the middle a capital alphabet. So these errors of capitalization are very common, and at times they do cost you your marks. So if you write everything in block letters while transferring your answers, you will never lose out marks because errors of capitalization will not occur there. So keep this in mind as a simple tip. Apart from this, be careful about the order of your answers. Now what happens here is people generally tend to write fast. They're in a crunch for time towards the end, and they'll start writing the answers without looking whether the order of the answers are correct or not. For example, if instead of writing answer number 2, you've written the word for answer number 3 and then continue writing the answers accordingly, you've missed out on your seriation. The entire answers following question number 3 go wrong. So you see, although you figured the correct answer out, you've made the effort of finding what the right answer is, you still messed it up because you've transferred it in a wrong manner. So try to keep this in mind, transfer your answers in the correct order. Apart from that, if you have missed a question, it happens with the best of us at times. It requires a lot of focus to constantly listen to what they're saying, and you're not allowed to listen to it a second time, the audio. So we do tend to miss out on an answer, and at times we figure it out that we've missed an answer out. So instead of obsessing over it, trying to figure out what was the answer, what did I hear, let me just try to rack my brains and extract one particular word as an answer, do not do that. You're wasting your time. Instead of, figuring that answer out, what you are doing there is missing out on the next 3-4 answers because you're obsessing over one which has already gone back, and you have missed the chance to listen to the ones that they are currently speaking about. So once you realize you've missed an answer, skip it, move on to the next one. It's okay. By putting 2 and 2 together, you'll come up with something. It might be correct, it might not be correct, but do not waste your time stuck on an answer which you have missed the recording for. Focus on what follows. Keep this in mind. This will help you, and I promise you'll thank me later for it. Anyway, moving on. Now there are 2 different types of accents they will use. Since English has many different accents, some people use the Indian accent like we do, some people will use the American, some British, some Australian. Depending upon the place you're from, the accent changes. Now in IELTS, there are 2 types of accents which are acceptable. Hence, American and British spellings become acceptable, and these are the only 2 accents they will use to speak out the audio in, right? So if you have a little sensitivity towards these accents, if you understand the nuance of the accents, it becomes easier for you to understand. Now, people who are not native speakers of the language, for them, accents are completely different. So we advise watching a lot of British and American movies, listen to songs, that helps. So doing these things will help you figure out how to score more in listening. Now listening is pretty simple. You've seen the things that I've asked to keep in mind. Apart from that, if we talk about listening as a module, it's generally very easy. I repeatedly say that, and listening is something which is based more on practice and focus. So the more you practice, the more you focus, things will become a lot more clearer for you. So keep these things in mind. Keep practicing. There's plenty of material available on YouTube. Sign up for a lot of memberships. A lot of different websites give you that. We give you that. Log into eBritish IELTS. You will come across a lot of different, practice tests. So the more you practice, the better you score. Practice becomes key here. So keep these things in mind that I talked about in terms of listening. Practice it. Let us know how it goes for you. I'm pretty sure your band scores will go up once you apply these things. Alright? Let's keep everything else for the next time. If any questions, any queries, feel free to talk to us. Feel free to log into the account given below and log into eBritish IELTS, talk to trainers face to face. You can have real-time conversations with them. If you want doubt clearing sessions, they can provide you with that. So keep your options open, keep practicing. All the best, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.